everyone. Welcome to another issue of Beyond the Cowl. This is issue number 10. All
Numero
fingers for this
10.
episode.
Yeah, we're finally in the double digits, man.
We're hitting episode 10. Everyone's been doing super good. Hopping in on the YouTube channel, seeing all the unboxings. Most likely you'll hear this and be like, wait, there's unboxings? Yes, go to the unboxing on the YouTube channel. Check it out.
Yeah, it's something different other than just us sitting here listening to us talking. I mean, it's more visual than anything, and something a little bit different than just us talking about, like I said, books or news. It's original art and actually pretty cool movie poster. So and there's more unboxings to come. So
Yeah, and it also gives Marcus a perfect excuse to go through his whole collection and start unboxing everything.
yeah, man, and there's a bunch of things that I actually, especially books. I sometimes I just get books when I order them. I forget that I order them, and then I just throw them in the closet. Don't even open them. So I still have a ton of books actually that are still in packages from different retailers. Still have things coming. Yeah, and then I still need to get things framed. So maybe I'll do some of that as well.
That's so I got the poster you sent me, and I went today to go frame shopping, and I didn't realize how kind of selective a 24 by 36 frame is, but I also didn't realize how big it was.
Oh yeah, that's a big boy, man. That's like a movie size poster.
Because when I saw yours in the background, I was like, "Oh, cool! It's a good size." And then when I got the frame and I put it in, I was like, "Holy shit, this thing is huge!"
Yeah, that's not. It's not. It's not some little small poster. It's a big. It's a nice 24 by 36 poster. So
Yeah, I got
it's
it.
it's big.
I got it hanging up right by my bed. So every morning I wake up, I'll see it and I'll just uh, think about what we're doing.
Some yeah, some podcast motivation, right?
Yeah. And so today, for everyone, I actually got a request for us to talk about what we think so far is going on in WandaVision, which is perfect because, of course, the beginning of every podcast, we will talk about spoilers. If anyone who wants to watch WandaVision or are waiting till WandaVision ends on March 5th to watch everything in one section, just pause, come back later, or just skip forward until we go into some future state talk. If not, then go watch the show and then come back and listen to our opinions and let us know what you agree with and disagree with.
Yeah, like I said before, and I'll always continue to say, watch the show for yourself, make your own opinions. Don't let anyone else persuade you into liking or not liking the series. So, yeah, I mean, we're just some dudes on the tube.
Two dudes on the tube. That's a really good idea for a fallback podcast.
Yeah. So, without further ado, let's do what we do and get into it, man. Sit down, buckle up. We got a hell of a ride, man. Bust out your Pampers because you're not gonna want to miss any of what we got going on today.
Bust out your Pampers, get the big gulps, and get ready.
Yeah, man.
So for
Um,
WandaVision, we have so far 5 episodes. They are anywhere between 34 to like 40 minutes and change per episode. So it's so far, I give it, I kind of like it.
yeah, I'd have to agree with you. I think the first two and a half episodes, it was kind of for me, a little bit of struggle to get through, and then the last episode and a half, you're like, man, it was only 30 minutes or 35 minutes long. I wish it was longer. Um, and for any kind of, if you're not huge into comics or comic books or the MCU or comic book movies, it might lose you on the first two. But my opinion or advice would just not opinion, but advice would just say, stick around, get past two and a half, and then you'll kind of realize what's going on in the series.
For me, it was episode 3. So I watched the first 2 episodes, and they released the first 2 episodes on day one. But when day one happened, we got both episodes for the first two. And I'm watching it, and I'm trying so hard to like it, like be wowed by it, like I normally am for like Marvel content. And I just, man, it's the whole TV show situation that like Wanda is doing. It's not till episode 3 that I kind of get lured in when we actually get a piece of the outside and we start seeing, because the first kind of lure from the first two episodes for me is I'm thinking, is Wanda doing this herself, or is Wanda trapped? Like, did someone capture Wanda, and the way to keep her from defending herself is putting her into a fake reality, having her be distracted by Vision?
Right. And like I said, I think the first 2 episodes were the toughest to get through, because you really don't know what's going on. You kinda get thrown into this world right away where it's to me, I would describe it kind of is like a Pleasantville meets the Truman Show sprinkled in with a little, Dick Van Dyke Show. So, it takes you to a place in time, like, I think it's the '50s, where immediately you're kinda just thrown in there, you don't know what's going on, it's just some kinda, like, cheesy sitcom type of show, and you get all the jokes, the cheesy jokes, and the, kinda cheesy acting that go along with that style of show. So, the first like I said, the first 2 episodes were a little bit tough to get through, and for me, that's the reason why, because I wasn't into that kind of portrayal of an I guess, an action series.
Hmm.
So, that's for me why it was kinda hard to get through the first 2.
Well, it's just so like it's kind of, for me it was kind of a bummer, right? Because Scarlet Witch is this badass character, and I feel like, I mean, I could be wrong. By the end of this year, my opinion could change, but I just feel like having her do this show is kind of wasting an awesome opportunity to really bring some good stories from her. Um, the creator of the show actually is Jack Schaefer. So she actually is writing the show, and she actually wrote Black Widow, which is coming out in 2021. She also co-wrote Captain Marvel, and then she also wrote The Hustle, that Sandra Bullock movie in 2019. Just throw on some extra credits, but she's starting to write more and more for Disney, and like the writing, I don't think is bad. I just think it's the weirdness of the show, like kind of like the delivery in the first two episodes, which might be more of a director issue than a writing issue, but if you get to episode three, I think you would be. It starts to pick up.
Yeah, it definitely does, and I like I said, it might be the writing, but you kinda tend to realize start to realize, I should say, um, in episode 3 and 4, why the first 2 episodes are of importance. And when you're watching them, you don't really understand, you kind of just don't pick up things, but then when you go back and watch it after you watched, like, maybe the 3rd or 4th episode, you start to piece together, kind of the storyline that they're getting at, um, with what they're trying to get across to the audience.
Yeah. Well, we do get introduced though on the outside of the world, because obviously we have Wanda and Vision, which is like the selling point. But honestly, the two other that are, for me, the three other characters that are being introduced on the outside world that are very important is we have Darcy Lewis, who was in Thor. She was the astrophysicist that was helping, trying to figure out the Tesseract, and also was there for Thor 1. Jimmy Woo, who's becoming like this favorite character of anyone watching this show. He's this funny guy. He was the I can't remember the actor's name on top of my head. I'm gonna look it up real quick. He was in like Off the Boat. He's actually a comedian and improv actor.
Yeah, I really like the part that those 2 play, and you can see that they're kind of gonna be important to the storyline, right when they're introduced. So, I
Randall
mean,
Park, that's his name.
Randall Park, yeah.
And then we also get Monica Rambeau, who is the daughter of Maria Rambeau, who is best friend
Mhm.
to Captain Marvel. She was we saw her as a little girl in the Captain Marvel movie.
Right, and she's well, from what we know, she's one of the first ones to actually go into, the little pocket universe that's created by, um, what we think or led to believe is by Wanda.
Hmm.
So,
So basically, what we end
she's
up. Go ahead.
no, did you wanna go ahead and kind of just give a quick rundown on what actually happens in episode 1 and 2?
I was just
So
gonna,
that, you know
yeah. So in like episodes one and two, basically, we're getting two different generations of comedy shows, starting from the '60s style with like the style of film, coloring, like the mom and dad show, beds being separate. Think of like Leave It to Beaver kind of style. Then episode two, we jump into the '70s, so it's kind of more like housewife style, and then Episode 3 is when you start kind of seeing the reality of the sense of Wanda is in her own world. And so basically, what's happening is that Wanda has taken over a town called Westview. And you learn it throughout the rest of the episodes that she goes and she steals Vision's body and she kind of resurrects him. Now, we don't know yet if he is actually alive or if she is just manipulating reality. But the core concept for this show is that she's manipulating reality, and they are now starting to realize how powerful she is. I mean, they even mentioned in the series that she almost took down Thanos on her own if she didn't have that barrage of missiles that almost attacked them in
Right.
Endgame.
Right. And yeah, I think it's super important to note that she is powerful enough to actually manipulate and control, you know, the whole town of Westview, which makes it interesting in and of itself because she's that's just how powerful of a character that she is. And it leads you to believe, well, what are what is Sword going to do, or whomever going to do to kind of, um, I would say, get Wanda to come out of that bubble that she's in, or because you have to realize she can't just stay in that bubble and keep that the whole town hostage is what it seems like. So at some point, somebody's gonna have to go in there and make Wanda release these townspeople that got trapped in it and are just playing a part, being manipulated and controlled by what we are led to believe is Wanda.
Mm-hmm. It's cool because like when they show up, right now we have Sword, which I thought was a really cool name for this organization because you got Sword and then you also have Shield.
Yeah.
And
So
Sword was established. They describe it in the show as the department that really focuses on extraterrestrial tech, and it sort of was actually established by Maria Rambo, which is Monica's mom. She's the one who established this program right after they got Captain Marvel and met Captain Marvel and all this stuff, and so they deal with all that stuff. And it's kind of cool because in uh episode 4, Monica actually comes back from the snap, and you get a little bit of a brief moment of like how chaotic it was when everyone just came back 3 years later.
right.
And I mean, she comes back, she's like, "Where's my
Yeah.
mom?" And the doctor's like, "Monica, your mother passed away 2 years ago." And she goes, "Where have you been?" And Monica described the incident as, "I just took a nap for like 20 minutes. Like I just fell asleep for 20 minutes. That's all that's happened." So that's like, besides Homecoming, where they kind of, or for Spider-Man Homecoming, where they actually like talk about people coming back, actually having someone personally say how they felt gives you an idea of like how everyone was feeling for those years that everyone was gone from the snap.
Right. It just felt like a moment in time, like a quick moment in time. With the what's called, and they call it the blip.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you see, like you said, you see everybody come back and you see chaos ensue in the hospital. And it just kind of gives you an idea because when you see it, when the Avengers Endgame, when they come back, it just, you see a nice little view of, the birds chirping and look things looking beautiful outside, and then you have a different perspective when Monica Rambeau gets snapped back. You see everybody coming back to where they were when they got snapped away, and it just kind of looks like a chaos that ensues.
Yeah, like no one knows what's going on. No one can understand it.
Yeah.
And go ahead.
Oh, and I thought there was a couple, going back and rewatching the series. I thought there was a couple important things that happened in the first couple episodes to kind of emphasize that Wanda is kind of manipulating the town
Mm-hmm.
and the townspeople, because you open up like episode 1 where they're getting settled into a new house. It looks like they just moved into a new neighborhood. And then they see a date on a calendar with a heart on it, and they can't remember what it is. And that kind of in and of itself leads me to believe that Wanda herself is at some level being manipulated as well, because she can't remember either what's going on, to a certain extent. So it leads me to believe there's larger forces at work and maybe we'll see those become more apparent in later episodes. Um, you know, and you see Vision at work, and he doesn't know what he's doing doing at work, or what his work
Is.
his work is surrounded by, or like what he's working for. But I thought that was a super important. And then you see the boss coming over to the Vision household, where um where they have dinner, and you see the boss, Arthur, I think his name Arthur Hart. He starts choking on a piece of food, and if you notice the wife, when she's saying, Arthur, stop it, stop it, she looks at Arthur first, and then um v- uh she looks directly at Wanda, and keeps saying, stop it, Arthur, stop it. I thought that was super interesting, little plot detail that they threw in there, but you wouldn't know, if you didn't watch maybe the episode 4 or 5, what exactly is going on. That's why I say it's hard to get to the first two, but when you do, you start to go back and you realize like these little things that they were hinting at, and you
Mm-hmm.
start to realize putting the pieces together.
Yeah.
You know?
Like there's a and exactly right, because like there's like those little moments, right, that you start catching. You're like, that's very odd, but then they become bigger moments throughout the series. Like in episode 2, she's at like a pool party community meeting about this talent show. She's talking to the head lady, and the radio starts putting out a frequency saying, Wanda, Wanda, who's doing this to you, Wanda? And you're like, whoa, someone's trying. So it makes you think that Wanda is the one being manipulated. Where actually, you fast forward, you end up figuring out that this giant town is wrapped in this bubble of energy, and it's sending out a radio signal from the energy. So they actually can take the radio signal and put it into an older TV, like they do for like older televisions, and watch what's going on with Wanda. And then so you think that she's under control, but then you end up finding out that she is actually controlling everyone. And everyone is aware of what's going on, but they don't want to upset her because she can change something or rewind something. And so it's kind of crazy to think that, is there something else going on with Wanda? Like I honestly think, like I said, I think that there's more, because I don't see Wanda just wanting to take the body and then just capture whole town, especially with all the progress she made from Age of Ultron to now.
Yeah. Yeah, and then like you said, I think there's some underlying like details that like I said, become more apparent when you watch later episodes. And one of those is, when you see the whole town when they go to these meetings, it's for the children. They keep saying for the children. They all say together monotone, like kind of like zombies. Um, in episode 2, and then episode 2, I think she's gonna have more of a key role, which is one that main lady that breaks the cup she's holding in her hand in episode 2. It
Mm-hmm.
starts bleeding, and you see the
The
blood
red
and
blood.
color.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think she's gonna be, a key player moving moving forward in some regard, just because I think what was the context that they were saying when they were going to the meeting. Um, they were saying something like, I can't remember what they were saying. Uh, it's like Dottie is the head of that little group for the meeting that they were going to,
Mm-hmm.
and apparently she has control, like she's in control of that town, to a certain extent. Um, I can't remember I'm trying to find it. I wrote down in my notes somewhere, but um, the surrounding cast, the ladies that were going to the meeting, they make it a point to emphasize that, like I said, Dottie, like, you don't want to upset her or just go along with what she says, something like that. So
Yeah.
that kind of struck me kind of by surprise, because it's like, well, I thought Wanda was controlling a lot of these people, and then when you see Wanda staying to help clean up, the little meeting when they're done, you kind of see her like, oh, I'm so lucky to have been chosen to help clean up, and you see her make a little face like she's doing that against her will, if you
Yeah.
really notice.
It's like the tension from the scene made her snap her glass.
Right.
But I didn't even think about that. I haven't really been paying attention to other characters besides just trying to see them slowly snap, right? Because you get a little bit more in episode 2, where oh, I'm sorry, it's not episode 2, it's episode 3, where Vision goes outside and the people are talking and they're kind of whispering, and he's like, "Wait, what? What's going on?" And that's when they're kind of like, oh, like they were about to tell him the truth, but then they didn't because they were terrified. And it could be they're making it sound like everyone's terrified of Wanda, but maybe they know it's something else going on. So I don't think Wanda's aware of it. Vision even says in the latest episode, at first I thought that you weren't aware of what's going on, and you're slowly coming to a realization of what's going on in this reality, unless you're the one who is controlling it from the beginning. So when they're kind of talking about a little bit of trust issues at the end of the latest episode.
Oh, and if you notice, if you go back to the episode where they're doing that little town um fundraiser thing where Vision and Wanda are performing their little magic act, you see Vision, he seems to be kind of drunk. That's because if you go earlier in the episode, he went to the town meeting for security. He
Mm-hmm.
gets a piece of gum. The gum goes down and kind of gunks up his little
His
his little
little,
mechanisms
yeah,
in his, yeah, and it kind of gives him a drunk effect. But when he goes to it seems like he's drunk when he goes to the talent show to perform his act. He starts floating in the air, and then we see Wanda look at him like, "What are you doing? You're not supposed to be
flying.
um displaying your power." And you see all the townspeople sitting there looking like whoa. And then you go to Dottie, and Dottie's just sitting there with a blank stare, looking like not confused, but looking like kind of upset in a way. So that's why I'm saying, like, I think Dottie has a bigger key role that we're not aware of yet. And getting back to before they go to that town meeting with Dottie, one of the girls says Dottie is a key to everything in this town. That's the words that
Ooh.
she's saying. So that's what I picked up when I watched it over. I was like, "Ooh, that's gotta be some kind of important message that, maybe Dottie is, I don't know, has something to do with Mephisto." That's what I'm thinking, and that's what I think a lot of speculation is, that Mephisto's involved, but we have yet to see that. It's just all speculation at this point,
Well, everyone's.
and that
I'm
but
glad you said Mephisto because everyone thinks. So the biggest spoiler, if you guys are still listening, Quicksilver from the Fox X-Men movie shows up at the end of episode 5. Why? And the end of episode 3, Monica kind of breaks character a little bit while she's in this universe because she gets sucked in and she becomes part of the role, and she talks to Wanda, befriends Wanda, and she ends up saying, "Oh, your brother Pietro, who got killed from Ultron," and that's when made Wanda figure out that she's aware of what's going on and sent her out of Westview. At the end of the episode, he just shows up. So there's talks of Pietro in the show, and then he just shows up, but it's actually Evan Peterson's Quicksilver.
yeah, so
What do you think about
that
that?
that caught me by surprise because, right away, so you actually see Quicksilver, Pietro, in 2 different universes, right? You see him Avengers, it's one actor. You see him in a Fox property at the time, which he's in X-Men. And that right away kind of made me believe that somewhere down the line they will introduce mutants.
Mm-hmm.
But that made me believe it's going to be sooner than later because you're seeing the X-Men Quicksilver show up, not the one that was in Avengers.
Yeah. So you're
And
not actually seeing Wanda's actual Quicksilver brother. You're seeing a unrelated Quicksilver from a whole different franchise that Marvel did not own the rights to until of last year or the year before.
right. Mhm.
So I looked it up. I read some theories. Some people think this is Mephisto using Quicksilver, and just by chance using the wrong universe. I personally think my theory is I think she's manipulating reality so much that she's starting to blend in dimensions without realizing it. She's drawing too much power and she's manipulating too much because essentially anything that goes into Westview gets rewritten by Wanda to match what's going on. Everything gets rewritten: clothing, hairstyle, what you say and what you do. Right? You're kind of going in with a suppressed conscious, and you just do what Wanda wants you to do. So
So Yeah, and if you notice in episode 2, you see in the beginning of the episode they're awakened by something like a thumping sound, and we're led to believe it's like just a tree branch outside, right? Through the episode, there's 3 different occasions where they hear a weird noise and they go inspect it. And in those 3 episodes where they do, not episodes, but 3 times where they do go inspect what the noise is, what I'm thinking is that noise represents when Monica Rambeau came into the Pocket Universe, when the drone was flown into the Pocket Universe,
Hmm.
and when um the sword agent goes underground in the tunnel and comes up through the sewer into the Pocket Universe. That's what I got from those 3 different bumps. Or you hear those 3 different bumps, and you see 3 different, foreign entities come into the Pocket Universe.
Hmm.
That's what I took from it.
I think that's I saw the same thing too, and so that's why I think that everything's starting to get blended together. This could be the opportunity for them to bring everything in and finally have everything laid on the surface. I was actually kind of more hoping that mutants would be introduced as a protagonist and we'd have an Avengers versus X-Men movie, but I mean, it still could happen. But
That actually would be amazing, man. Um,
I fully thought so. Like I was telling people, yeah, they're gonna have the X-Men come in. Mutants are gonna be new to the Marvel universe because they're gonna be like, wait, what's a mutant? Think of it as a threat. Mutants are gonna think people who think they're a threat as a threat, which is the whole premise of mutant stories or any X-Men stories, right? No one likes mutants, so they rebel, and that's why they made the X-Men. And they're gonna have
yeah,
to fight, and then they'll end up having one common enemy, which could be the big baddie for Phase Four, and then they end up becoming friends, and that's how we introduce the Avengers and the X-Men, and the X-Men now have their own subdivision within this giant Phase Four. But some people also think that Fantastic Four is going to be introduced into WandaVision. I think people who are looking into WandaVision are trying so hard and hopefully want more of that Marvel tease, that Marvel little bit of nuggets of gold that you get like at and like at for like after credit scenes. I think they're kind of wanting that in this show. I think we'll get a little bit, but I don't think we'll get enough to where we'll get like um full details on X-Men or full details on like Fantastic Four.
right. Um, yeah, I mean, a lot of speculation was when the first time Thanos snapped, when he did snap, uh, that kind of opened the gateway to bring mutants into the MCU. So, but either way, you we will see them make their presence at some point. And then I'm saying in the next 5 years.
Oh, 5 years. I'm thinking.
Um,
I'm thinking within the next, probably within the next 2 years.
you might be right on that, but um, there's yeah, you might be right. There's they plan what is it, 5 6 years ahead.
Yeah, let's look it up.
So there's probably a lot that they haven't announced. Um, that has already been worked on.
I mean, WandaVision.
So
Some people think that it might be when Doctor Strange. He might use magic to be able to bring people into a different universe. There's a lot of different. There's like a lot of different things, right? WandaVision. I think WandaVision and Doctor Strange would be the two most likely moments that we can get some other people from a different universe introduced and then start blending in all the different IPs from different universes, and we start getting, like they're already talking about um Tobey Maguire and Spider-Man that they're filming right now. And I mean, Tom Holland even said, I can't tell you guys details, but this is going to be the most ambitious Spider-Man movie they've ever made. So maybe we're going to see more characters being introduced. So maybe WandaVision might introduce that concept of characters coming in from different universes. And then we'll start seeing little, whoa, where did I see that guy before? Spider-Man, when he owned, was from Sony or over here. And then that's when we'll start seeing like, because then if we start doing that, then we gotta start asking ourselves, are we getting Patrick Stewart's X-Men's, or are we getting X-Men First Class? Are those characters going to be brought over? Are we going to
right.
be getting a Hugh Jackman Wolverine? Are we getting a whole new Wolverine that's from a different universe that's
So
not from X-Men.
what I'm thinking is that when did
And that
when
sounded
you see
super
these
confusing.
actors, yeah, when you see, but you have to kind of think like when you see how Disney casts, they cast actors for the long run, right?
Mhm.
You see Tony Stark playing long, long. He has a long run on Iron Man. Um, I've got to imagine they do cast a Wolverine. It might be X-23. She's young. She has a long, uh, she can have a long career, as you know, as Wolverine. So, um, that would be my hunch, my assumption. You cast, you know, X-23 as for that role.
And have her be like the female Wolverine.
Right, right. Because she's a young actor, she's a young character.
Hmm.
You can develop that character and have that actor around for a long time. I mean, Hugh Jackman, who knows if he's going to come back and play Wolverine? Um, and do you really want to see a new Wolverine? I don't want to see a new Wolverine, really.
Yeah,
If
I'm
it's
not ready
going
to
to
move
be
on.
yeah. So he's done his work. He's performed. He's been that actor for a long time now. He's played that role of Wolverine for a long time. I think he's ready to pass the torch, and who better than, X-23? And you better get your NYX, I think Nyx 3's books ready, because if that character comes to the MCU, that book's gonna blow up.
Yeah, I mean that honestly that makes sense, especially with them kind of pushing for more female characters, and especially in cinema right now. X-23 makes the perfect sense. I mean, you have her come in; it's a complete. You can do whole new stories. You can have her reintegrate with the X-Men, right? You can drop little hints like
Mhm.
we had someone like I can see them drawing a line because they like having passive lines where it's like, oh, we knew a guy who was kind of like you, right? Like hinting at like, oh, we know a guy named like who's like you, Wolverine. But Wolverine's never actually there, so they can still talk about Wolverine, but use her as the person who fulfills what they kind of talk about. If that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. But there's so many different ways that they can go. You never know, um, what route they're gonna go until movies start getting announced and more information starts coming out. But like I said, if I had to guess, and it's just conjecture, that would be my speculatory pick, if you will.
We I do you know who Stephen Ford is? Stephen Sean Ford is.
No.
So Stephen Sean Ford is an actor. He was really big on Teen Wolf, and he directs a couple of like little things, but his biggest role was on Teen Wolf. He put out a tweet saying that he would love to see Jimmy Woo have his own MCU show where he is a part of Sword, and it's like an X-Files style show, but except he goes and checks out weird cases throughout the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
I think, yeah. Was that speculation, or was that series announced?
No, I don't think that series was announced. I literally this guy just posted it a couple days ago, and IGN got his tweet because he's an influencer, and then posted it on their thing. And I thought it was kind of interesting.
Oh, okay.
I would be down for a show like that. We haven't had like a
No,
cool
definitely.
like a non superhero centric show since Agents of Shield.
Yeah, 100%. Especially if they're gonna keep 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 it in continuity with what's going on in the Marvel universe, like they're doing with WandaVision.
Mm-hmm.
Everything works together. You see the big snap, um, you know, at Avengers Endgame, and that's mentioned in WandaVision. So I think as long as they keep everything in continuity and keep everything intertwined, I think that would be a cool series, to be honest.
Another thing I saw online when I was kind of browsing people's reaction to this, that there's actually articles where people are writing about how this can possibly bring Nick Nick Cage's Ghost Rider back.
Hmm, that'd be super interesting.
I
But
think Ghost
he's getting up there in age, man. So
I think if they were to do a Ghost Rider, they should do the new Ghost Rider, not the not the original one. What's his name? It's like
What is it?
Daniel.
Robbie Reyes?
Is
No,
it?
no, no, no.
No, it's not Robbie. I feel like his. Oh, Danny Ketch.
Danny Cat.
I knew it was Daniel something. Yeah, it's the news. It's the one with the Dodge Challenger where he has a car as his ride instead of the motorcycle.
Right. Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't follow Ghost Rider too much.
Mm-hmm.
I'm big on DC, but everybody should know that should know that. But and we're
Yeah.
both big on DC, so not huge on Marvel, other than a couple series that I read, like Venom and Hulk. Did you hear the controversy for Immortal Hulk? I think the issue that just came out was number 43. I think.
No, for Immortal Hulk, I did not. What's that all about?
Yeah, it was like an anti-Semitic. They had like somebody noticed that one of the scenes or panels in the book was anti-Semitic. It was an anti-Semitic message where you see a guy in a pawn shop, and instead of jewelry, like you see an advertisement on the wall, it says, instead of jewelry, it says Jewery, and you see a Star of
Sorry,
David.
David. I literally looked up right here.
Yeah. And now I think Marvel is recalling those books, but who the hell is going to return the book if you've already got it? You already see prices start to jump up on eBay just because of the. I feel like
Controversy.
any news, yeah, any news nowadays, it's just like, I don't know what the hell's going on, but it just feels like any news just makes the market move so much, even if it's not even worth talking about.
Mm-hmm.
It just makes me wonder, like, where's all this money coming from? You see all these books moving, all these new books getting um selling out and going to secondary market and getting priced up right away. It's just a super volatile market right now, if you're in collecting for comic books. And just something like this, like something like as simple as that. I mean, obviously maybe the editor missed something before it got to publishing the
I mean,
book.
you can obviously see the R. Right now, I actually pulled up an article about it on the digital copies of Immortal Hulk issue 43. They've removed everything off the window. The window is just a gray window. So probably going into the second prints. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna actually, when I go comic book shopping this week, I'm gonna look for Immortal Hulk issue 43 and see if I and see what it looks like. It Look, everyone right now is finding a reason to. I mean, yeah, it looks bad when you look at it, but personally, reading this story, I wouldn't have caught that.
I wouldn't have either, but there's people out there that catch the littlest things, man. Like, um, you have Marvel that releases um the same book with a little tweak in the cover,
Mm-hmm.
and you don't realize that those are a little bit more rare. I can't remember what they call them off the top of my head. Shoot. Um,
Like books
uh,
that have like an alternated.
it's the cover's the same. There's just one little detail that's different in the cover, and it's a more rare book that Marvel's pushing out. Some of them are like you find them one in every 10 or one in every 25 or something like that. But people notice the smallest little details, and any little detail that's different, it seems like it's worth money to somebody, I guess. I don't know what's going on in the market.
Yeah, I mean, I
It's
think,
just confusing to me.
well, in a collecting standpoint, right? Like when I had, I think I've said this before on the podcast. I had a Star Wars comic book that I got from a thrift store when I was like 8 years old. And I still have it. It is in the worst condition. It's like falling apart. Like this thing is probably like a 2 out of 10 for like a graded scale. It's so bad. But I saw the comic and it was going for like more than 10 grand. And I told the guy, I go, oh my God, I'm like, I have this comic, but it's really beat up. Like it's not worth money, but I have this book. And he goes, no, you don't. And I go, yes, I do. He goes, you have the 35-cent issue. This first print of this one was 30 cents. And when the popularity shot up, they reprinted it for 35 cents. So it's like small details like that that you wouldn't notice will make a difference between having a great piece of collectability and just an average piece of comic book that's worth 25 cents.
Right. Yeah, it's like I said, it's what they say in WandaVision, the devil's in the details.
Hmm.
Yeah, so
But
shoot,
since
I was trying to.
we made that transition into books, do you want to jump in and talk about Batman number three, Future State?
Yeah, we can do that. That kind of so um let's see here. Yeah, Batman number 3 Future State. Let me find really quick. That picks up to where we left off in issue number 2 with you see Jace kind of apprehending the two assailants that attacked
Hmm.
um attacked this guy, which we don't know why they attacked him, but we come to find out that I think it was he a pedophile or something like that.
Yeah, he took their daughter away from them. Like I think he did something to their daughter, and so they beat him to death. They put on masks and they beat him to death. And his name was Javarsky, and so Batman comes in, says, I got to bring you to justice. And they're basically arguing with him like he did a crime. We're just taking justice in our own hands. And the magistrate shows up and basically says, oh, shoot on sight, all masks. We have Batman, and then the issue ends, and then we pick right back up on issue three.
Right. And yeah, and that's where you see the magistrate kind of confront um Jace and the two assailants ready to use like kind of like lethal force. And you see, here's my problem though. With Jace, the new Batman, that's a new Batman.
Hmm.
I still don't know why they call him Jace, but whatever. Here's my problem. He just shows up right out of nowhere. He's just kicking ass all over the place. Like you don't have development into the character. He just kind of shows up. You don't know where he's been. You don't know y- you don't know what he's been through, where he's trained at, or anything like that. And he kind of just shows up and is badass right away. Um, I wish they would have developed it a little bit more, but I guess at the same time, this is a look into the future. So I see that in a way, but I just wish I would have more background
Right. More
on his
developed.
training. Yeah, exactly. More development for the character. But maybe we'll see that when the Batman series continues, because Future State isn't going away because we just got an announcement for Future State Gotham number 1, and that's continuing as an ongoing series after Future State ends. The Future State run ends. So um I thought that was super interesting.
And like next Batman, we only have one issue left.
Right.
The rest of Jace's development has been sprinkled into other Bat family books. Like he was in Nightwing. He's going to be in Dark Detective. I can't remember if it's issue 3 or issue 4 of Dark Detective that's going to be coming out. But the cover is literally Jace and Bruce Wayne face to face.
Staring at each other.
So the only thing we know really about Tim Fox that he Lucius Fox son. We know they have their fortune. We know they have the Wayne fortune. He said in issue 1, he mentioned about having a military academy training. So we don't know if he was like a mercenary beforehand. We just know he has high level military training. But just his mindset, his tactical skills are very Batman trained.
Right.
And I feel like it's really hard to get a character to dive in and do that. Ghostmaker's like that, only because we saw Ghostmaker's origin of him training with Bruce to do crime fighting. But yeah, I actually never really thought too much about it. I just thought, they just kind of threw him in there. And yeah, I think I have some more development. Like, why him as Batman compared to Luke? Because even in issue 3, we're still having that same problem where we know it's Jace, but everyone else in the book thinks it's Luke. I mean, their sister comes up to him and says, "You're Batman." And he goes, "No, I'm not." And they're like, "Stop lying to me. You have to be Batman." As if like that's the only option. And no one has in their brightest mind cannot connect Batman to Jace. So that makes me think that Jace had to get some sort of additional training somewhere else because no one can think, oh, Jace is the next option.
Yeah, and they drop a little Easter egg in there as to kind of give you a little bit of insight to his training or background or whatever, where Jason mentions, this is when he when he's in the safe house, which is the church, he takes the two assailants to the church once he gets away from the magistrate to kind of corroborate a safe arrival to the GCPD so they can be brought to
Justice.
um, justice in without being killed. But when they're in that, they drop a little Easter egg as to a little bit more into Jace's background, where he says, you know, this is when he opens up his armor because he got shot by the magistrate. He wants to cauterize that bleeding wound, that wound right there that's bleeding, and he's gonna bleed out if they don't cauterize it. So he pops a flare, has one of the assailants push the flare into
His wound and
into that wound. Kind of reminds me of uh, Predator scene, but he pushes pushes the flare into the wound to kind of cauterize the him from bleeding out. And when before he does that, when he takes off, you know, his armor, you kind of he mentions they see all these scars, and he mentions this is from my old job, which involved me getting tortured a lot. So they
oh
kind of drop a little
yeah.
Easter egg. Yeah, they kind of drop a little Easter egg as far as a little bit in looking, I guess, some kind of look into his background. But I thought that was important, um, that he said that. So, but yeah, in the issue, you kind of just a quick rundown. You see, like I said, the two assailants open up. Bruce gets away from the magistrate. Um, and they make it a point when you see the peacekeepers talking, like, how did you let him get away? You had you had all the support, and they make it a point to where it's like, what do they say? Two cybers, two drones, eight men. And they make it a point to say how exactly how many um you know how many of the magistrate forces he actually took out and got away from.
Hmm.
So he gets away, and then he takes the assailants to, like I said, the safe house where he arranges with Detective Chubb for a safe arrival or safe prosecution of the assailants, with due justice without being shot. And you kind of see the relationship between Detective Chubb, and her partner, which is working for the GCPD. You see kind of how much they don't want to be involved with Batman, because you see once they're talking on the phone with Detective Chubb, the partner goes, "Who was that?" And she's like, "You don't want to know because now you're then you'd be involved." And he's like, "Oh, you know, oh fuck."
Yeah, he's like, oh shit, and she's like, yep. And it's funny because I now that you mentioned that detail about what you don't like about the next Batman, that's literally what I'm thinking about right now. Like now I'm like I need to go back and reread this now because now I have a different perspective on Jace. Not that I dislike him more. I liked him. I like him as a Batman. I like his suit. I like that it's Kevlar. I liked how kind of simple it is. But back in the church scene, he has like a bunch of burner phones.
Hmm.
I don't really remember Batman having burner phones. He usually just uses his tech to access in. But now I'm wondering, like, okay, like where is Jace getting this tech from? How is he affording to fix his suit, get all his gadgets? And now I'm starting to wonder how much involvement, because you get a brief scene in here where you get Luke Fox and his wife, and they're arguing about just the whole politics of magistrate and how everything is going on, and basically how Lucius Fox isn't getting super involved in it, but yet Wayne Enterprise is somehow involved with everything, especially with like weapons and tech,
Right.
and they're fighting over it. And
Yeah, you see the dynamic and the turmoil inside that's going on inside the whole Fox family, because um you see the wife, she is on the magistrate side, trying to make the law, what they say, make the law shoot on sight stick. And you see um Lucius Fox, it seems like he doesn't care. Like he's designing these weapons to have lethal force, not without, you know, having in any kind of, okay, maybe we disable a victim instead of kill him. So you kind of get that vibe from Lucius Fox and his the tech that he's creating for the magistrate, that's just all lethal. And you see that turmoil between them, and the turmoil between the two parents, the parent, the mom and the daughter and Luke Fox. So I thought that was super interesting that they continue to play that trope.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what I was mentioning earlier. It's just like they're trying so hard. Like we saw Jace in issue 2 not have his cowl on. So we know it's Jace, but like they keep are pushing the fact that Luke Fox might be Batman to everyone within the story. That's why I'm thinking to myself, like, okay, like how is Luke Fox doing this now? Because no one in his family knows, unless Lucius Fox does know and is keeping the secret, and we just haven't been revealed that point because Wayne Tech, he's still in control of Wayne Tech. He has the fortune for anyone to allow Jace to have access to Wayne Tech and having access, which I mean, nothing has been confirmed that his suit or anything he's using is Wayne Tech, like how Bruce used all his stuff.
Right.
And now that's all I can think about now. All I can think about now is like, okay, how is Jace getting all this stuff, and how is he an instant badass? I thought it was cool. It,
Well,
it, it captured me in.
yeah, well, there's still a whole lot of unknown, and there's only one issue left. So they're gonna have to explain how they got to that point and exactly what's going on with how Jace got to that point and what kind of tech he's using and how he's, getting all his resources. So I have to believe we're going to see that play out in the pages of Batman. If not, the new Future well, Future State Gotham is already continuing the Future State Storyline. I think we're going to have to go back and wait for Tynan to explain what's going on in Future State. And I know Peacekeeper One's going to be a major player because he already is in the books of Future State. So he's going to be interesting to see his development and his background. Who knows? Maybe it's Ghostmaker.
Ooh, that would be super interesting if Ghostmaker. Are you saying Ghostmaker is Peacekeeper One?
Yeah, I mean it's speculation, but I mean
That's actually interesting to point that
that's what
out.
I'm guessing. That's what I'm guessing
I mean,
because we don't know where Ghostmaker is. We don't know where Clown Hunter is. And obviously they're gonna continue in the storyline because James Tynion, which is the creator of those two characters, is gonna be back on Batman, and Batman book is gonna be directly involved with what's leading up to Future State. And we
interesting.
don't know of what happened. They keep mentioning A Day. Is some kind of event that happened to kind of bring the magistrate to Gotham City. And I can't remember what book it was, but I remember reading where it's like, well, if you keep following Batman, that's how the magistrate ended up here, I think is what it said. Oh, I can't remember what book I read that it was in. Um, I think it was Dark Detective. Or is it you keep following Batman and that's what led the magistrate here to Gotham City. So it has some kind of event, I think, in Arkham Asylum that happened that
I think that
led.
was. I think that was in. Was that in Catwoman?
No, I don't think it was. I don't think it
It's
was.
it's in one of the Gotham books. I
Yeah, I can't remember which book it was. Dang.
maybe we'll get more. Maybe we'll get more clear of Jace as Batman. Maybe Nightwing. I mean, they're in the issue of Nightwing. They're literally getting stormed. So maybe, and that's their first time meeting. So maybe Nightwing might start asking him questions. Where'd you get the suit? How'd you get the tech? How'd you get the training? And maybe Jace will start sprinkling some more bits of like, either his passive sarcasm or maybe he'll start kind of opening up a little bit about like how he got his stuff. And maybe we'll get more there because he's also in Justice League also. So we might get a little bit of background of him in Justice League. We might get background of him more in Nightwing. Um, until we get another issue, that's probably the best bet of where we'll get more Jace as Batman. But hey, I mean, I'm down for more Jace. I just wish we can get like an issue where it's like from start to wearing the cowl to getting to where we're at in issue 1.
Yeah, they definitely have a lot of explaining to do. And you know what I kind of get from the relationship between Jace and Detective Chubb? I kind of get the Bruce and Gordon kind of relationship
Oh yeah, I mean,
kind of vibe.
you got to bring that in. Like every Batman has to have his connection to Gotham PD.
Right.
I mean, think about it. It's like how with most characters when they develop them, they have to have their entourage. Like
Like, can you imagine if we in the next couple years we get Jace getting his own Robin?
Well, we already know Jace has somebody helping him on his intercom in his suit. So
More like an
we have
Oracle. Hmm.
an Oracle type of figure. Now we have Chubb, which is kind of like a Gordon type of figure. Um, so we just got to find out who his tech person is, which is probably the same person that's communicating with them in his suit. And where he's getting his armor and his technology and his training from, or where he got it from.
And then I love how the book ends with the guy from the couple get a piece of rope and they strangle it around Batman's neck and basically says maybe they'll give us a break for killing Batman.
Oh, right, right, right. So yeah, at the end of the book, you see, like I said, Jace trying to arrange for a safe arrival to the GCPD of the two assailants, and the two assailants are like, "No, we're not." Well, the male at least is like, "I'm not going back. I'll take my chances on the street," and he begins to attack Jace into where he hits him where his wound was. So that's how the book ends, and I thought that was a good point because we didn't mention that.
To be concluded in the last book for the future state of Batman.
Right. So we got one issue left. Hopefully the series ends as well as it has been and started off. Hope I'm not disappointed.
And you know what? I got the vibe from, I don't know if it's just coincidence, but like first issue was really short with background stories with outsiders and Arkham Knight. Second issue was all Batman. The second issue for me has been the best out of the three. And third issue, again,
Right.
short, quick story of Batman and what's going on. And then it jumps into the outsiders and Arkham Knights. So I'm hoping fourth issue will be a mostly Batman, and then we can kind of wrap up what's going on and figure out. It's only 4 issues, right? It's supposed to be a 4 issue run.
Right.
So
Right. So
so we'll see. You want to talk about Arkham Knight, your favorite part of the next Batman? I was so stoked when I was scrolling down and I read and I saw all of a sudden I saw Astrid come out. I was like, oh shoot, we're getting more Arkham Knights. Marcus is gonna be stoked.
yeah, I actually, like I said, this is my favorite story. I have to say, probably the top of all Future State. There's also a couple other books like Catwoman, Nightwing that are high on the list. All Dark Detective and Next Batman are obviously the top of my list, but the Arkham Knight story in particular, I think tops it all.
Hmm.
For me, and yeah, this just continues off of Ashtar Arkham just continuing to build her team and making a statement in Gotham is really what it is. Because you open up, you see them, they've Killer Croc has now joined the team, and you can see the compassion that Ashtar Arkham has for her team. And if going back to the first issue, or first issue, they're operating out of the Wayne Manor. Um, Picking up into the second issue, they're going, they're looking um to retrieve something within the magistrate, in a territory that's in the magistrate control, and you don't know what that is, and the magistrate thinks it's an armory, so they think they're going after artillery and weapons and things like
Hmm.
that. But at the end of the book, you realize that's not what they're going for at all. They're going for the bat signal, and it's more to make a statement and to inspire hope than anything else. And I thought that was really, really, really cool.
I like
That
I like Astrid's opening statement about the story of Artemis
right,
and how it's like a female leader who literally did whatever she could to make sure that her team was successful and was the best. And she has that mentality with Arkham Knights. And her main goal, besides saving Gotham, is also teaching these Arkham inmates how to reintegrate back into society and do good instead of bad.
Yeah, and if you don't know who Ashtar Akram is, he was actually raised in Arkham Asylum. So her backstory, you can find her backstory in Detective Comics. And this actually, the Arkham Knight storyline just continues out of Detective Comics. Um, and to be honest, it's like I said, it's my favorite storyline. I just appreciate like what the character um provides to the story as far as inspiration and hope to a town that seemingly lost all of that because they're now in the control of the magistrate.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when you see them you see them retrieve the bat signal. Like you said, they turn at the end, they turn that signal into the Arkham like kind of insignia, and they turn it on and it projects into the sky. And it's just a strong message that for me at least, that the story is able to provide. And I can't I can't get enough of it. I hope they continue the storyline after Future State's done. So I would read the hell out of this over and over again and continue to read it if they continue the story.
I will too, because definitely the bat signal was a shocker for me, and I love that they repurposed it. I just love the writing for the Arkham Knight storyline. Like it's super inspirational. It's very,
Right.
it's just very hopeful, like you said. I like this second story of it more than the first one.
Yeah. So you see Ashtar Arkham, put together a team that you would never think could work together. But you begin to see the layers of Arkham and the compassion she has towards each and every member of her team, and her message is just so strong, and the whole team gets that, and all these villains, they start, they gel and they work together, and she leads them, she leads them for a cause and a purpose. And like I said, like I just can't stop saying, it's just so powerful, the message that she has in that book, that she's the character that she's written to be and written to the message that she's written to portray. It's just so powerful, and it's kind of like a modern day philosopher, I guess, if you will.
Yeah,
So
literally, like her, like when the doctor goes down, and she basically, like, the internal monologue at the end of the panel was has always risen, and it was always rise long before we were and the long after we are gone. It's always rising, or it always rises, even for you, my brave knight of Arkham, my fallen brother. And she's talking about the sun. The whole plot is this whole analogy of the sun will always rise no matter what. But just like her seriousness of not wanting to let anyone on her team go down or lose hope.
yeah, and then you see Dr. Foster is, I think does he die in the issue? I think he dies, right?
It doesn't say he dies. It's just he's literally on the
Right.
operating table, and then they move on. So maybe he might die in the next issue. I know that's been like that one character, right? I mean, that would make sense if he died, right? Because that's the one person she's trying to save, but she's having the toughest time trying to save, just because his condition is just so severe. But she's trying to push more hope on him. I mean, he literally commits suicide in this issue to save them, but instead she goes and saves him and brings him back.
Yeah, she's like, we don't leave anybody behind, and as right as they're about to escape, she goes back for him. She's like, no, we stand for something, and every member that's part of this team, we don't leave one behind. We'll all die for one.
Oh yeah, she literally goes to save him, and then she also literally just stabs Peacekeeper 6 right in the stomach with her sword.
Right. So we've already seen. Let's see. So we've already seen in the first issue, they took out Peacekeeper 12,
Hmm.
and then in this issue, she well, it doesn't. It kind of implies that they take out Peacekeeper 6, but we don't know that for sure.
Yeah, but
But
we
we see
saw,
Peacekeeper 6 and Nightwing.
yeah, where Peacekeeper 6 is literally
Nightwing,
is like basically trying to earn her spot as Peacekeeper 6.
right? And you see in Nightwing, you actually see the first time that Peacekeeper 1 is unmasked, and you see the dynamic between Peacekeeper 6 and Peacekeeper 1. So maybe it's a different Peacekeeper 6 because you see in Nightwing he's telling Peacekeeper 6 you can easily be replaced. And that's what they seem to do is replace Peacekeepers. But I have to think that Peacekeeper 6, what's her name? Marks?
Hmm.
Yeah, Marks has a bigger role because they make it they make you feel like that character is meant for something more.
Yeah,
Peacekeeper
possibly.
6
So maybe this Peacekeeper 6 in this issue is not Peacekeeper 6. Maybe this
is a
was the
different one.
original Peacekeeper 6, and Marks is now going to take on the role of Peacekeeper 6.
Right, and that's kind of the another confusing thing about Future State is if you don't know where what point in the DC timeline they're referring to, it's hard to kind of keep up because you got all these characters in different places at different times in different books.
Hmm. Absolutely.
So
And
yeah, that's kind of another downer about Future State is
you
the
literally have to,
timeline,
you
like the whole
have,
time. It doesn't go chronologically. It just all over the place a little bit.
yeah, like if you're not reading Catwoman, Nightwing, Robin Eternal, um, Justice League, even Batman and Superman, if you're not reading all those books, you don't understand what is going on in the timeline. Like when I read Batman and Superman, like I said last time, or when I said a couple episodes ago, I wasn't really impressed with the story. I'm like, it was okay, but it is involving with the magistrate. Like Batman mentions about how he's trying to figure out what's going on with this militia that's might get hired, and then we jump into the future, and it's like taking over everything. Catwoman
Yeah,
is like in the beginning, and
yeah, you see that Batman and Superman is the most recent book to the Magistrate takeover. You begin to see tech, the three companies that are involved with supplying the Magistrate, and I think in Dark Detective, where Bruce Wayne is trying to figure out, he's like follow the money. He's trying to figure out, who's the who's the strings, who's controlling the strings on the puppet with these three big tech companies, and then you see the storyline of Gotham City Sirens, where you see DD Prime, which is a droid, and you see the advancement of technology. I think it was with Dilton Corp or something like that.
mm-hmm.
So you, like I said, the I wish it was kind of chronological in some ways, so that way you can kind of follow along what's going on. But then you kind of have to piece together what's going on
Yeah.
because you get different pieces and different stories at different times. Which,
Well,
like I
they,
said, if you're a new reader, it might put you off. But you gotta try. You almost have to read a lot of different books to figure out what's going on.
I mean, they have what you said they have it's the DC Nation presents DC Future State, right? Where it's like one book that they released back in like last year, and it's like the whole entire timeline, right? Of like what's going on, the characters.
Um, yeah. Hold on one second. I think I got it right here. Hold on.
I just pulled it up right here, and I'm like reading it, and I mean, it's a pretty thick thing, but they show everything from Swamp Thing, Harley
Yeah.
Quinn. But the book is mostly just like kind of more like design purposes and like showing pictures of original art from like Dark Detective.
Yeah, so it's kind of like little excerpts from pages that are already in Future State.
Mhm.
Shoot, I'm trying to find it. I had a bunch of them here.
Yeah,
Or
like they show the pictures of like the Guardian, Catwoman, Supergirl, Stephanie Brown, her or not Stephanie Brown, spoiler, her suit and Red Hood, Nightwing. Yeah, that's it right there.
Yeah, so this is a book, and then this was a free book actually. DC Nations presents Future State, and then they take this was released way before Future State was released, and they give you little previews of pages of the art that you see in Future State. And in the bottom of this book, if you can see right here, this is the timeline that if you're interested in actually following along with, what point in time these stories are taking place, um, I would say if you can find this book, pick it up because this is the timeline that they show for all the different books and when they're taking place, so you can kind of have some idea as far as the chronological order of of these stories. And it's probably, if you are interested in kind of diving into it a little bit, it'd probably be best if you do pick it up or
Yeah,
able to find it online.
they go all the way from 2025 up to
The end of time.
literally the end of time. So we might be getting future state
That's
of,
what Immortal Wonder Woman, I think, is the end of time. At the end of time.
and that means we might be getting future state of other popular characters throughout this series.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Um.
I'm excited to see how they kind of end everything. So far I've enjoyed future state. This is a good little piece of good series to hop back into as like my first full series that I'm getting back into with my new goal of just reading as many comics as I can.
Yeah, it's hard to do, especially when you get um some of the books that are not as interesting. But overall, you have to sit back and realize that these books, I think they did a lot better than DC expected because you see a lot of these books actually going into second prints, which means that the it was released and the first release was had been sold out. Then you go to a second print,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of the books had second printings to them. And the books that I was actually putting a lot of money into buying multiple copies is the next Batman #1 because you get the first African American Batman, obviously Jace Fox or Luke Fox, if you will. Dark Detective #1, you get the first appearance of Peacekeeper #01, which I feel like he's gonna have a huge a role, and he's gonna be important in integral to the DC universe.
Mm-hmm.
And Future State Wonder Woman #1 because you have the first appearance of Yara
Yara Flor.
Flor, which already has her own. Yeah, she's gonna be Wonder Girl. She's gonna be. They're gonna carry her on with an ongoing Wonder Girl series, and there's already talks of her being you know, in um in the big screen. And obviously, I think the big winner of them all is probably going to be Teen Titans #1 with all of the unknown and speculation with um, Red X.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So
Teen Titans.
I think Red X is probably the talk of um, one of the biggest talks of Future State, and you see that book I think doing the best right now in the secondary market.
Yeah. Well, they're doing a reprint of Teen Titans 1 and Next Batman coming out this week along with
So
Teen Titans 2.
so I think the reprints that I know they're doing, uh, as of right now, um, you have what is it? Wonder Woman, Dark Detective, X Batman #1 and #2,
And then Teen
The
Titans 1.
Flash, Teen Titans 1, Robin Eternal, Superwoman, Swamp Thing, Harley Quinn, Green Lantern, Immortal Woman, Wonder Woman, Justice League. So if you look at that, I mean, I think that the fans have spoken, and I think that's a big reason why they're continuing some of the Future State storyline with Future State Gotham #1,
Mm-hmm.
which is going to be an ongoing series. Um, but I was surprised that they didn't. There's no second print for Nightwing or Catwoman, but you see a reprint for Superwoman. I was like, Superwoman. I mean, it was an okay story, but I didn't think it was that good.
Good enough to have a
And
reprint.
oh, maybe they underprinted it because they're like, well, nobody's gonna buy it. Probably nobody's gonna buy this book. But um, that was kind of I was kind of like, what? Superwoman, no Nightwing or Catwoman.
Yeah, possibly. But I'm super excited for next week's comics. I'm gonna go comic book
Oh
shopping.
yeah.
I was gonna go Wednesday, but I think I might go tomorrow just because I want to try to see, like I was telling you, try to go get myself some Teen Titans issue number 2, and then also go pick up some more
Oh,
variants. I also really want to go check out this. Um, there's an LCS shop that I keep hearing about called Comic Kazi in San Diego that I want to go check out.
oh, that one's in the Claremont area.
Yeah,
Yeah, I've been there before. Southern California Comics is one of the bigger ones I think that we have here. Um, I would check out that one too. Um, from Teen Titans, the second printing. Are you going to try and get the second printing of Teen Titans #1?
yeah, I'm trying to get the second printing of Teen Titans 1. I would like to get the Red X variant cover if I can find that one. I really want to get
That's
Nightwing issue 1. So the Red X
yeah. So
is my number one searching for.
yeah, like I said before, I already had multiple copies on pre-order because I just seen the artwork, and right away I was like, ooh, I feel like this is gonna be, even if it's not a good story, the cover art alone is gonna be enough to push the book, and it's already sold out on every single online retailer site.
Mm-hmm.
So right now, your only chance to get it is the day of release, which is tomorrow. Like I said, if you can't find it, I'll have I'll have one for you.
Yeah.
I think Teen Titans #1, the second printing is also, if you find it, pick it up, because if you look at the secondary market, it's sold out everywhere again online on online retailers.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and you see the prices for, if you look on eBay right now, you'll see Teen Titans #1 second printing and Teen Titans #2 the Dustin Win cover. Just going crazy online right now. And you know what I hate? Oh, I feel like these some of these LCSs, you get these sleazy like LCSs that do these slimy thing where it's this day of release,
Mm-hmm.
they're gonna bump up the price the same day, man.
Maybe.
Where
Well, because
I feel like that's
the Red X book and Future State Teen Titans printing second printing with the purple cover, they're only $4.99 books.
no, yeah, but they're sold out everywhere. So now you have to resort to the secondary market or get it the day of release. And if you go to an LCS that's probably not a reputable LCS, or just
Mm-hmm.
like you know, some of these LCS are just trying out to make a buck, you're gonna probably see them selling it for double the cover at least, because you already see the prices on eBay going. I think for 3X, I think they were like $30 or something like that on eBay when I
Yeah.
when I checked. But I get it. I pre-order it. If I don't pre-order it, then I'm just like, I missed the boat on that one, and I
Yeah.
just let it go.
Well, that's what I
Because
was.
if you think there's gonna be more books to come, and you'll
Mm-hmm.
have your opportunities to get to get in on some of these books. My feeling is that if I miss it, I miss it. I'm not gonna pay more than cover price for it. I'll let the market do what it will do. It'll obviously, they always jump up high early on, and then they come back down to earth a little bit. For the most part, some of them just jump up high and stay up that way, but that's pretty rare. So I let the market do what it does, and I don't concern myself with
Yeah.
with buying off second market
Oh yeah.
for for
Well,
more money.
that's what I was mentioning to you, like when I went and bought my first haul like a week ago, where I was like, honestly, if I can't find it in person, then it's kind of like it wasn't meant to be. Like I like going in and having the experience of hunting and finding the comic. Obviously there might be some particular issues like variant covers of Dark Detective. I might order online because I can't find them. I really do want those. But if I can't find it in person, then like it's not the end of the world. Like, there's only a couple of books that I will be like, I need that cover because it's just something I need in my collection. Then I'll go online and find.
Yeah, and I think some of these second printings are, you might want to pick them up because I think they're a little bit more rare, more rare of a book, because they're the print numbers aren't as big as the first prints.
Mm-hmm.
So
But
that might be a good idea if you can find them.
oh yeah. But other than that, that's what we got for Future State and for WandaVision. And if you guys have made it this far, kudos to you.
Yeah, yeah. The Warriors, man, if you will. It's hard to make it through hearing two guys ramble for an hour and a half or whatever it was. So if you made it this far, maybe you think we're interesting. Hey, maybe leave us a thumbs up if you would.
Yeah, and if you like what you're hearing, definitely give us a like, share, and subscribe. Go check out our social medias: Instagram at Beyond the Cowl, Twitter Beyond Cowl. Some other guy has the name Beyond the Cowl, and it's a Batman Beyond fan made Twitter. So we're just Beyond the Cowl on Twitter, and soon to be
Right.
on, hopefully on Spotify soon.
Yeah. And leave us a comment. Tell us what you like, what you didn't like, what you want to hear, what you want to hear us talk about. We're not one of those those big YouTube channels where we're too big to interact with whoever it is that is listening to this podcast. So, leave us some feedback. Let us know. We want to make a show that's, directed towards the people that are listening, and are interested in what we have to say.
Yes, absolutely. Until next time, you little Bane Litos.
Yeah, yes, sir.
Everyone, take it easy and have a safe rest of your week.
Stay safe, everybody.